Hello and welcome to Rajya Sabha Television. You're watching the news tonight. I'm Frank Razan Pereira. And before we go over to the headlines, we'd like to make an appeal to you. Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic. And now let's bring you the headlines. Ramvilas Paswan cremated with full state honours. Hundreds of supporters gathered to pay last respects in Patna. Number of recovered COVID-19 patients approaches 60 lakh. Rate of recovery goes up to 85.81%. India's active COVID-19 cases stay below the 9 lakh mark for the second day in a row. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to distribute property cards under Swamitwa scheme tomorrow. Move to help 1 lakh villagers to take loans, avail financial benefits using property as a financial asset. A day after Home Ministry issues guidelines for poll campaigns, election activity intensifies in Bihar. BJP Chief JP Nadda to address public meetings in Bodh Gaya tomorrow. And India questions Pakistan's conduct at NAM foreign ministers meet. Union Minister Muralidharan says members can't weaken forum by trying to undermine territorial integrity of other states. Well, let's begin with our top focus of the bulletin this evening, where Union Minister Ramvilas Paswan was cremated with full state honours on Saturday at Patna's Digha Ghat. Chirag Paswan, the son of the departed leader, performed last rites. Jawans of Army, Navy and Air Force, as well as the state police, accorded a guard of honour at the venue of the funeral. Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, Deputy Chief Minister Sushil Kumar Modi and senior BJP leaders, including Union Minister Ravi Shankar Prasad, were present at the funeral. Many paid rich tributes to the mortal remains of the departed leader.
रामविलास जी एक प्रामाणिक जन नेता थे, सिर्फ बिहार के नहीं। साधारण परिवार में पैदा होकर भारत में 9 बार लोकसभा के एमपी बनना, 2 बार राज्यसभा में जाना, 6 प्रधानमंत्रियों के साथ काम करना और बहुत ही योग्य मंत्री। मैं अटल जी की सरकार में पहली बार उनके साथ कोयला खान में राज्य मंत्री थे और अभी कोरोना काल में जो उन्होंने काम किया, खाद्य आपूर्ति मंत्री, 80 करोड़ गरीब लोगों को खाना खिलाना प्रधानमंत्री के निर्देश पर, चावल, गेहूं, दाल, ये बहुत बड़ा काम था। 1 नेशन 1 राशन कार्ड। लेकिन वो दलितों, उपेक्षितों, गरीबों के लिए काम करते थे, लेकिन सबों के लिए प्रिय थे। ये सर्वव्यापी व्यक्तित्व था उनका।
देखिए, इस देश में अंबेडकर के बाद अगर सबसे बड़ा दलित नेता कोई पैदा हुआ तो उसका नाम रामविलास पासवान है। और हम सौभाग्यशाली हैं कि बिहार ने अंबेडकर के कद के नेता को पैदा करने का काम किया है और एक ऐसा व्यक्ति जो 1 दर्जन से ज़्यादा विभागों का अलग अलग समय मंत्री रहे, एक अमिट छाप छोड़कर चले गए और बिहार के विकास में उनका बहुत बड़ा योगदान है।
रामविलास पासवान जी जेपी आंदोलन के भी नेता थे, कार्यकर्ता थे। उसके बाद अम्बेडकराइट मूवमेंट के भी नेता थे, कार्यकर्ता थे और बहुत साल तक वो सत्ता में भी रहे, सामाजिक काम भी करते रहे। उनके जाने से खाली बिहार का नहीं, सारे देश का बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ है। और मेरे घरेलू संबंध उनके साथ 25-30 साल से थे और मतलब वो दिलदार आदमी थे, मृदु भाषिक थे, सबको साथ लेकर जाने वाले थे। उनको जाने से बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ है। तो हमारे अम्बेडकरी मूवमेंट का भी नुकसान हुआ है, देश का भी नुकसान हुआ है, बिहार का भी नुकसान हुआ है।
मैं बार बार कहता हूं कि रामविलास जी आज जरूर अंत्येष्टि हुआ है उनके शरीर का, लेकिन उनके कृतित्व का चिरकाल तक रहेगा और एक ऐसे व्यक्तित्व के रूप में उभर करके समाज में आए जो सर्व समाज के साथ जुड़े रहे। वो वंचित समाज की बात जरूर करते थे, लेकिन वंचित और सारे समाज, चाहे सवर्ण हो, वंचित हो, कटुता समाज में कभी नहीं पैदा किया। ये रामविलास जी की खासियत थी।
रामविलास जी अपने राजनीतिक और सामाजिक जीवन में इतनी ऊंचाई तक पहुंच गए थे, जो उन्होंने अध्याय लिखी है राजनीतिक और सामाजिक जीवन की, वह हमेशा प्रेरणादायी रहेगा। सबके लोकप्रिय, चाहे उनके समर्थक हो चाहे उनके समर्थक नहीं हो, सभी वर्गों में लोकप्रिय और दलित समाज में तो लोकप्रिय थे ही, इसके अलावा भी जो भी समाज है सब में लोकप्रिय, सब लोग मानते थे।
Earlier, thousands paid their last respects to the veteran political figure. The veteran leader from Bihar and founder of the Lok Jan Shakti Party died on the 8th of October 2020 in Delhi after prolonged illness. He was 74. Well, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu penned down the contribution made by veteran parliamentarian and Union Minister Ramvilas Paswan in a newspaper article. Citing Paswan's political journey, the Vice President said that late leader Ramvilas Paswan was baptized into politics at the young age of 23 with his election to the Bihar Legislative Assembly in 1969. Venkaiah Naidu wrote that Paswan's personal experiences of discrimination and deprivation molded his worldwide view, seeking justice, liberty, and equality for all. The Vice President said that the late leader understood the significance of political power in driving change and making a difference. Praising Paswan's knowledge of the harsh social realities and his powers of articulation, Venkaiah Naidu said that Paswan had the option of taking a combative route to strive for change. Instead, he chose the advantage of being proactive by being within the system. Venkaiah Naidu added that Paswan lent his might to protect and promote the rights and interests of the weaker sections whenever warranted. The Vice President said that Ramvilas's sudden demise is a big loss to the country and a huge setback for the aspirations of the weaker sections of the country. Well, in his career spanning over 5 decades, Ramvilas Paswan has been a member of the Lok Sabha 8 times, served 6 prime ministers, starting with the cabinet of VP Singh. He held several portfolios ranging from railways to the Ministry of Telecommunications and Coal. Before his death, he was in charge of the consumer affairs, food and public distribution portfolios. Here's a look at the political journey of this socialist leader. Ramvilas Paswan, a stalwart socialist who emerged as one of the most iconic Dalit leaders from Bihar with a nationwide following. Born on the 5th of July 1946 at Khagadia in Bihar, Ramvilas Paswan entered the Bihar Legislative Assembly at the age of 20 as a member of the Samyukta Socialist Party in 1969. He joined the Lok Dal upon its formation in 1974 and became its General Secretary. An ardent follower of Raj Narayan and Jai Prakash Narayan, Paswan was arrested in 1975 when emergency was proclaimed in India. On being released in 1977, he became a member of the Janata Party and won the election to Parliament for the first time from Hajipur seat. He held the world record for winning an election by the highest margin. Paswan was re-elected to the 7th Lok Sabha in 1980 and in 1984 from Hajipur constituency. In 1983, he established the Dalit Sena, an organization for Dalit emancipation and welfare. Paswan was re-elected to the 9th Lok Sabha in 1989. In his political career spanning over 5 decades, Paswan held many ministerial portfolios. He was appointed Union Minister of Labour and Welfare in the VP Singh government. In 1996, he became the Union Railway Minister. In 1999, he became a Cabinet Minister in the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government and held the communications portfolio till 2001. In 2000, Paswan broke from the Janata Dal to form the Lok Janshakti Party. After the 2004 Lok Sabha elections, Paswan joined the United Progressive Alliance government. He was made the Union Minister in the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers and Ministry of Steel. In 2009, he lost the Lok Sabha election from Hajipur for the first time in 33 years. From July 2010 to May 2014, Paswan remained a member of the Rajya Sabha. In 2014, he was once again elected to the 16th Lok Sabha from Hajipur constituency as an ally of the NDA. He was given charge of the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution in May 2014, which continued in the Modi government's second term in 2019. Often termed as the great survivor in Indian politics, Ramvilas Paswan was instrumental in the implementation of the Mandal Commission report in 1990 during the VP Singh government. As a champion of the Dalits, particularly in his state, Ramvilas Paswan focused on getting projects to his region or employment for members of his community, efforts that made him a key swing force in Bihar. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television. Well, moving on to other news now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch the physical distribution of property cards under the Swamitwa scheme via video conferencing on Sunday. The Prime Minister will also be interacting with some of the beneficiaries during the event. Swamitwa is a central sector scheme of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj. It was launched by the Prime Minister on National Panchayati Raj Day on the 24th of April 2020. The survey of villages and mapping with improvised technology in village areas or Swamitwa scheme aims to provide the record of rights to village household owners in rural areas and issue property cards. The scheme is being implemented across the country in a phased manner over a period of 4 years and will cover around 6.62 lakh villages of the country. According to the PMO, the beneficiaries are from 763 villages. These include 346 from Uttar Pradesh, 221 from Haryana, 100 from Maharashtra, 44 from Madhya Pradesh, 50 from Uttarakhand and 2 from Karnataka. The launch will enable around 1 lakh property holders to download their property cards through the SMS link delivered on their mobile phones. The move will pave the way for using property as a financial asset by villagers for taking loans and other financial benefits. This scheme will help in streamlining planning and revenue collection in rural areas and ensuring clarity of property rights. Well, in the ministerial meeting of the non-aligned movement, India took Pakistan to task for violating norms of multilateral organizations. India cautioned Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi to refrain from raising bilateral issues at multilateral fora and not to raise issues related to territorial matters at all. Pakistan's Foreign Minister had tried to raise the issue of Jammu and Kashmir at the meet. Minister of State for External Affairs V. Muralidharan questioned the conduct of Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi at the meeting of foreign ministers of non-aligned movement. Muralidharan said that the non-aligned movement will become weak and irrelevant if members speak lies and use it as a forum to embarrass each other. He called for reforms at the NAM to improve its effectiveness.
If we take up issues that divide rather than unite us, reducing our movement to a platform for venting bilateral grievances or for embarrassing fellow members, we will soon become a weak and irrelevant entity with no say at all in global decision making. Individual members must stop and think before raising issues that are not on the agenda and which find no resonance in the wider membership. NAM never was and never can be a platform for pursuits aimed at undermining the territorial integrity of a state by another state.
The non-aligned movement has completed 65 years since its in-principle inception in 1955 during the Bandung Conference, at a time when USA and USSR formed a bipolar world order. Muralidharan impressed upon member nations on the need for cooperation in the reconstruction process in the COVID and post-COVID period. He also called upon the member nations to unitedly work against the menace of terrorism and work for prosperity of common people. Akhilesh Suman's report for Rajya Sabha Television. Well, 4 terrorists were killed in 2 separate encounters with security forces in South Kashmir on Saturday. A joint team of Jammu and Kashmir Police along with Army's Rashtriya Rifles and CRPF launched a cordon and search operation in Dadura area in Pulwama district and Chinigam village in Kulgam district following intelligence inputs about the presence of terrorists in the area. As the joint team encircled the suspected spot, the terrorists fired upon them. The fire was retaliated by the teams triggering off encounters at both the places, killing 4 terrorists, 2 each at Chinigam and Dadura villages. Incriminating material, arms and ammunition were discovered from their hideouts. And some news from poll-bound Bihar now, where the government has issued an order along with SOPs allowing political gatherings and events outside containment zones for the assembly elections. The order comes in the backdrop of Home Ministry's guidelines for the elections. According to it, only 50% seating capacity will be allowed inside closed places with maximum gathering of 200 people. Amid COVID-19 concerns, the Election Commission has also limited the number of star campaigners of any party. The poll body revised this number from 40 to 30 for national and state parties and from 20 to 15 for unregistered political outfits. Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar, former Congress President Rahul Gandhi and Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thakere's names have been given as star campaigners for their respective parties in the state assembly elections. Voting will be held for 71 seats in the first phase on the 28th of October. Well, it's time for a short break now, but news and updates will continue on the other side. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Rabindranath Tagore was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1913 for his book Gitanjali. In 1950, he composed the music and lyrics for India's national anthem, Jana Gana Mana. And when Bangladesh became independent in 1971, they chose Tagore's song, Amar Shonar Bangla, as its national anthem. Tagore's life and works have made him a cultural icon, studied the world over, even into the 21st century.
Welcome back. You're watching News Tonight. I'm Frank Rausen Pereira. Time now to get you the latest coronavirus updates, where India's active COVID-19 cases remained below the 9 lakh mark for a second consecutive day and now constitute merely 12.65% of the total caseload. Recoveries have gone up to nearly 60 lakhs with a total of 82,753 patients having recovered in the last 24 hours. The national COVID-19 recovery rate has progressed to 85.81%. There are 8.83 lakh active cases of COVID-19, making it nearly 1/8 of the total cases in the country. India reported 73,272 fresh infections in the last 24 hours. 926 fresh fatalities were also reported in the same period. The total caseload increased to over 69.79 lakh, while the death toll climbed to 1,07,416. According to ICMR, total of 8.57 crore samples have been tested so far, with 11.64 samples tested on Friday. Well, Bharat Biotech is preparing for phase 3 of clinical trials of its COVID-19 vaccine candidate Covaxin. It has sought approval from the Drugs Controller General of India for the trials. The DCGI has asked for the safety and immunogenic data of the ongoing phase 2 trial before proceeding for the next stage. Hyderabad-based Bharat Biotech is developing Covaxin in collaboration with the Indian Council of Medical Research. 28,500 people will take part in the final stage trials across 19 selected sites. The company has presented phase 3 clinical trial protocol along with the interim data of phase 1 and 2 clinical trials. Early trial results have shown that the potential vaccine is well tolerated in all volunteers. It has been found safe with no side effects so far. Zydus Cadila is also conducting phase 2 of clinical trials of its potential vaccine in the country. Oxford AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine is also at an advanced stage of trials in India. Pune-based Serum Institute is conducting phase 2 and 3 human clinical trials of the potential vaccine. Well, moving on to other news now, where the Indian Railways has changed ticket reservation rules from Saturday. It has allowed booking and cancellation of tickets 5 minutes before the scheduled departure of trains from stations. Under the new rule, a second reservation chart will be prepared half an hour before the train starts from the station. The system of preparing a second reservation chart was shifted to 2 hours before the scheduled time of train departure in view of the coronavirus pandemic. The new rule will be applicable to all special trains. The Railways has suspended all passenger trains from the 25th of March due to coronavirus pandemic. However, it has been running several special trains from the 1st of May. Well, India's foreign exchange reserves rose to an all-time record high of around $546 billion. Reserve Bank data released on Friday showed the country's foreign exchange reserves increased by $3.6 billion to $545.638 billion in the week ending October 2nd. In the reporting week, foreign currency assets increased by $3.1 billion to $503 billion. The gold reserves rose by $486 million to reach around $36.5 billion. The country's special drawing rights with the International Monetary Fund rose marginally by $4 million to $1.476 billion. Meanwhile, the reserve position with the IMF also went up by $23 million to $4.6 billion. Well, the centre has issued a fresh advisory to states on safety of women and how to deal with crime against them. In a detailed 3-page advisory, the Union Home Ministry said that there should be compulsory registration of an FIR in case of a cognizable offence under the CRPC. It said any failure of police to adhere to laid down rules does not augur well for the delivery of justice. The ministry added that the law also enables the police to register an FIR or a zero FIR in case the crime is committed outside the jurisdiction of the police station in the event of receipt of information on commission of a cognizable offence, which includes cases of sexual assault on women. Time for some international news now, where a ceasefire between Armenia and Azerbaijan has begun following nearly 2 weeks of fierce fighting in the disputed Nagorno-Karabakh region. However, each side has since accused the other of breaking the agreement. The truce aims to enable an exchange of prisoners and recovery of bodies. The announcement of the truce followed 10 hours of talks in Moscow, sponsored by Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, who read the statement. Armenia and Azerbaijan also accused each other of bombarding civilian areas ahead of the ceasefire. More than 300 people have died and thousands been displaced since the latest violence in the long-running conflict broke out on the 27th of September. Nagorno-Karabakh is run by ethnic Armenians, although it is officially part of Azerbaijan. The two former Soviet republics have blamed each other for the latest outbreak of violence, the worst in decades. Well, the theme of this year's World Mental Health Day is Move for Mental Health, Let's Invest. The pandemic has brought many challenges for healthcare workers providing care in difficult circumstances, for students adapting to taking classes from home with little contact with teachers and friends and anxious about their futures, for workers whose livelihoods are threatened, for the vast number of people caught in poverty, and for the people with mental health conditions, many experiencing even greater social isolation than before. Close to 1 billion people are living with a mental disorder. 3 million people die every year from the harmful use of alcohol, and one person dies every 40 seconds by suicide. Countries spend on average only 2% of their health budget on mental health. Investment in mental health programs at the national and international levels is now more important than it has ever been. Well, World Day Against Death Penalty was observed on Saturday. The day is marked to raise awareness about the issue of death penalty and the global fight against it. The day was first organized by the World Coalition Against the Death Penalty in 2003. The day is supported by several NGOs and world governments, including Amnesty International, the European Union, and the United Nations. The theme for the day is Death Penalty, Access to Counsel, a Matter of Life or Death. It focuses on the right to effective legal representation for individuals who may face a death sentence. That's it in this edition of News Tonight. But before we leave, I'd like to make another appeal where Rajya Sabha TV appeals to all its viewers to stay safe from the COVID-19 pandemic. Wear face masks, wash your hands and face regularly, and maintain physical distancing while stepping outside. Remember, these simple precautions are all that it takes to defeat the pandemic.